What's up, people? Welcome to a very special edition of Wrestle Update. I'm your host, Dylan Fox, as always, joined by my good friend and yours, Aniello de Angelis. And we are here talking about two shows in one here. We usually like to do it one at a time, but man, WWE just packed so much filler into their shows that you, Nello, you believe that we can get through both of them, and we will have plenty of time to spare, I think, if we were to do what you, the smart person between us, did, and fast forward through nonsense that you don't care about. I mean, you just said it. You told me off the air it was easy. Didn't you say you watched most of the show in like 90 minutes or something?
Yeah, night one. I watched night two live.
Do you regret it?
It was certainly longer. Dylan, it was the biggest SummerSlam ever. Let's just say that.
When will it end? Was my thought watching a lot of this. And listen, I have watched a lot of freaking wrestling in the last 2 weeks because there's the G1 going on. Shout out to my Eastern Lariat listeners. You know where I'm going with this. There's the G1 going on. There's the 5-Star Grand Prix going on. There's the Dream Star Grand Prix going on. There's the Princess Cup going on. I have all of these tournaments in my back pocket, man. And I'm watching all this stuff, doing stuff for the Eastern Lariat Patreon. And I just wonder, like, that's the thing. We talked about it off the air. A big news story in the life of Dylan Fox is I have made my debut in Magic the Gathering. Thanks in big part to you, who really was a huge part in inspiring me, and that's not a lie at all. You know, we've heard the tales of your Magic exploits, your big wins, and you know, when I was a kid, I used to have those when it came to Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm a lifelong Yu-Gi-Oh player. I used to play every weekend. They'd have tournaments at Books A Million in my city. I go there, and I pretty much clean house, not to brag. You know, they always gave us little aliases. I remember mine. Do you know what my name was? Like my stage name for my Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments?
Eva Zero?
No. That's my Twitter handle. That is a tribute to Ray, my favorite Joshi wrestler, who rest in peace. But my name at the time was Kid Shadow.
That's badass.
And it was. I do agree it was good. But I do have a bone to pick, actually. Now, because this is another thing, we're about to get behind the scenes here. So, Kid Shadow morphed. I didn't use that as my wrestler name, but for those who don't know, I started wrestling at 13 years old, trained by Wolfie D, literally almost 20 years ago. December 22nd, the 20th anniversary of my first ever match. And I really wanted a name. I first started off, here's something for everybody to laugh at, especially you, Nello. My original nickname as a 14-year-old child in wrestling was Dynamite Dylan. And even my tag team partner was another kid. He was 14. He was like maybe a half year older than me. He was taller than me. And we both loved wrestling, and he came in on a whim after I did. His name was Manic Micah, and we were the Dymanics, were our team name. Like Dynamics, but Dynamics. And eventually he stopped, and I was just there as like a jobber, pretty much. Like just getting my ass beat every week. And I realized, even at 14, I was like, man, Dynamite Dylan is not a main event name. like this has got to change. I've got to do something. And that's when I reworked my gimmick into more of the way I did it was like, because I had heard, so the company I wrestled with was called ASW, and they had told us, Mac, the promoter, told us that WWE had scouts at our shows. Because remember, at this time, there was Deep South Wrestling. And I was like, oh.
Carnage Cup Deep South?
Like where Omega was in WWE training at. And
okay,
Vito. Okay. Not Carnage Cup, no. This was like Bill DeMott era. But he was really impressing upon us, like, okay, WWE has their scouts here. So I was like, all right, they're going to want a character. And I really I was like, I mean, I don't know why I even dreamed this would happen, but I was like, maybe I could get signed. Like, even though I wasn't 18 yet, I was like 14 or 15 at this time. And I was like, maybe they'll sign me, but I need a character. And I didn't even have it in my mind about writers or anything like that at the time, because the way we did stuff at our freaking public access show, it was all off the cuff. Like, all just between us, the boys were coming up with stuff. So I was like, okay, I come up with my own character, blah, blah, blah. My idea, I really wanted a kid name, because it was like, okay, it reminded me of like in 8 Mile, where Eminem, like the start of his rap at the end was he's like, yeah, my parents sucked, I am a crackhead, and I'm white. Like, what can you say about me? He's like, I just said your whole rhyme that you would say against me, I said it myself. And here's all this bullshit about you, so now you have nothing to say that I didn't already say about myself. So I wanted to really lean into, like, because I think it's natural, especially in the world of wrestling, where it's like, no, I'm not a kid, I'm a man, I'm older than my years, blah, blah, blah. But I really wanted to lean into it, you know? Like, okay, kid, I'm a kid, we know that, I'm a teenager. Like, I'm not a kid, but I'm a teenager, younger than these 30 and 40-year-old guys. Why do I need to deny it and make that a part of me when I can just own it? Like, okay, I know I'm a kid. What are you going to say now? So that transitioned into my gimmick. Hometown Kid. Which you would know, Nello, because I still have the same email I made in 2007 for that you sent stuff to when you were doing your college terms and stuff like that. That's still my main email all of these years later. So we were talking, and this is going to lead somewhere, I promise. I'm not just rambling on for no reason. Nello, you remember 1 week ago when you messaged me and you told me, what? Slammiversary's on? I didn't even know it. Is that a factual statement?
Yeah.
And so what do I do? As I said, I told him off the air, I'm not going to get too super in depth, but I was going through some rough times the last couple of weeks. I was feeling depressed. And I told you, this is another thing you can confirm, you are the only person I told this to, my friend. I told you I'm watching TNA to feel something. Has a more emo fucking line been said by anyone who ever lived?
No, definitely not. Unless someone has said that regarding MLW.
That's the only case lower than TNA. Unless the Wonder Years do your theme song. But more on that later. But anyway, so what do I tune in? The first thing I see on this fucking TNA Slammiversary. Now, my gimmick, what that I was pitching to WWE, or well, I mean, I think he lied. I don't think there were any scouts as an adult, but at the time I believed it, that there were WWE Deep South people. If true, there's a chance I could have wrestled Kenny Omega at one point, but nevertheless, my gimmick, Hometown Kid, was in ASW, Hometown Kid was pretty much, and this would have been my gimmick, how I would have played it anyway, just in a different way. I was basically very motivated by the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, that was my gimmick. I was like the white Fresh Prince. You know, I'm from Memphis, like 90% black people. Like, that really shaped who I was as a character. Like a streetwise guy, wanted to be a ladies' man, but kind of wasn't. Like, but was kind of also goofy. Like, at the same time, like a fun guy, but also kind of a loser. Like, that was my character. And that led into one of my major storylines I had when I wrestled. But in ASW, Hometown Kid was the kid, literally, who was hyper loyal to Memphis. I never left my hometown. That was my gimmick. Like, I'll never leave this place. You'll have to arrest me and drag me out of Memphis to get me out of this. That was my gimmick. And my idea for when, in my stupid 15-year-old mind, that I would get signed to WWE was I couldn't do that when I'm traveling to all these cities. So my idea for Hometown Kid was that every show I would be announced from wherever the show was at. Like, oh, I'm in Phoenix, from Phoenix, Arizona, Hometown Kid, Dylan Fox, blah, blah, blah. From Memphis, he's from Memphis. From Tampa, he's from Tampa, blah, blah, blah. No matter where we were, we could even do, like, international tours. Bill me from fucking Italy or something like that. Like, everywhere was my hometown. Come out with a sports jersey on. I thought it was, like, a super genius idea and an easy gimmick. Like, that's an easy pop or a heel as well. Like, if you want to be called out as being a fake. So I came up with this idea 2006, Nello. What do I see when I turn on Slammiversary? The introduction of Hometown Man, Cody Deaner. This motherfucker is doing my gimmick from almost 20 years ago. This has turned into a real thing, Nello. Now, I'm not saying he copied it. I don't know how, in God's name, anyone from TNA ever would see ASW. Because I've tried so hard to track it down so I can show people. But if they did, I want to say that I wish Cody Deaner the best for it, but I would like some thanks. I would like some credit. Is that too much to ask, Nello?
I don't think so.
He came out with a New York Islanders jersey on in Long Island. Cody Deaner is not from Long Island. Hometown Man and Hometown Kid. Do you think there are similarities in that name? Let me ask you.
I mean, it's hard to say no.
I think so too. So again, I'm not saying they ripped it off from me. I don't know how they would have. But the fact is, I did it. I did it first, and now we see Hometown Man on TNA. Not even in the main events like he deserves to be. Like that gimmick deserves to be, in my opinion. On the pre-show, fighting Eric Young. That is it. What I don't know how to do about this. And now, like I said, I think that we could actually do an angle together too. That is an invite. If Garrett Kidney is listening, can you pass this up to some higher ups? I would like to do an angle with Hometown Man. Who's the real hometown hero of wrestling? I think that's, again, not too much to ask to shout me out. Do a nod to me. You know, maybe do the Hometown Hangover, which was my finisher at the time, which was the Harlem Hangover. Do something. Give me a little bit of props. That's all I asked, TNA. And with that, really, I would have reviewed it anyway, but we forgot that it was happening. But I have protested Slammiversary in spite of them for my gimmick being used, and not even a small gesture or nod to me. Do you think that's fair? And do you think that is the accurate reason why we did not review Summerversary? Or is it because we forgot about it before it's just started happening?
I mean, it sounds like
Both
this would have been the podcast if we would have covered it anyway. Just a ferocious takedown of this gimmick that was stolen from you. Is a child. They stole this gimmick from a child.
15 years old. I came up with maybe even 14.
Barely in the business and already just goddamn.
My whole career, I was barely, man. Like me and Dramacidal were on. So I was like a step up from that, from 2KW. Like I was the public access TV champion. Let's get that fact straight. How many belts has Hometown Man won in the business? The proof is in the pudding, Nello. I deserve respect as the OG, the OHTK, not the OTC. Like that, because that's what people would chant. Like HBK, they would always chant HTK. Another easily chantable name. My brilliance at the time as a wrestler showing forth again. But I have nothing against Cody Deaner. I was a lifelong TNA fan. Half of their wrestlers inspired me. One of my dreams was to be in TNA when I was starting out. I wanted to marry Gail Kim when I was 13 years old. I had no idea how wrestling worked. Nello, I didn't even know there were writers. And now this is what they do to me. So I do think that it needed to be said. I've been holding on to this all week, and I think I have the right to speak on it on this CageMatch.net platform forum and the 5-Star Network platform that we have been graciously given. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's what platforms are for.
Exactly. And I'm thankful that you will ride with me on this, Nello. If I get that phone call, if I get that DM from TNA Wrestling, and they say, Dylan, we heard your podcast, we've heard your claims, and we want you to come in for a run. I'm telling them, look, I'll do it. I'll do business the right way. But Nello has to come with me. And I will get you a TNA job. Okay, so let it be known on this.
I'm good, dude. It's all good.
Yeah, we would rather be very much unemployed than work for TNA, is what Nello is telling us.
I'm all good. Don't worry about me.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. You can't, Nello. You cannot turn around and say I left you behind if that happens. But anyway, this show we're doing has nothing to do with TNA whatsoever. Actually, SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer. A lot happened on these shows. I don't know what the hell, is going on in this world, but we tuned into this SummerSlam show, and we started off in MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and it was something, coming in, I always say, what was your hype level for this show? Coming into night one here, what was your hype level?
Pretty small. Again, like WWE likes to have like really bad, weird PR weeks leading up to their biggest shows for some reason.
Yeah, that's a very common occurrence.
Like, and like I don't judge anyone for watching WWE. Like, look, the world we live in, it's all about consumption, and some things I feel comfortable consuming, other things feel weird about. For me, WWE is one of those weird things sometimes. And this week was weird feeling, and I guess we know why they're not doing the press conferences anymore.
Brilliant point on your part. Now, I never even thought of that, actually. And now that you bring it up, I think you're totally right. Like, they stopped the media press conferences after the shows. Why was that? Well, if that is your reason for not being very hyped for the show, I don't think you left the show feeling much better about it overall. It's clear they don't care about us. No, at all, I don't think.
Yeah, and like, here's the thing. I'm not surprised. Like, I should say that. In no way am I surprised by this stuff. And like, I still enjoy covering it because I get to chat with you. So it's not a complete loss.
Well, if they ever go just even more off the rails, they're kind of teetering that line, to be honest, where even I'm starting to get a little weird about it. My takeaway from all this stuff is usually always kind of the same. And I just gave you an over 15-minute diatribe about how I was wrestling and taking bumps and getting dropped on my head at the age of 13 and 14. So my morality, and I grew up in a broken home. My parents were horrible, abusive, and all that stuff. Never had anyone who loved me, blah, blah, blah. So my morality's all out of whack anyway, let's be honest. Nobody should follow me for that. But my takeaway is usually, look, there's really no way to ethically consume almost anything. If you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it, like, no matter what you follow, like, you're going to have to deal with something that's extremely unethical morally. And that would be against what I believe in. No matter what sport you like, or like what video games you like, or what movies you like, whatever, or music, anything. There's so much bad stuff in this world, largely perpetrated by trillionaires, media conglomerates. I think that's what I believe anyway. It's very hard to escape it. And to be honest with you, life is too short for me to throw in the towel like that, you know? Now, that doesn't mean that some things aren't easier than others. Again, like, there's bad stuff AEW has done that you can put in. Hell, Nello, Drake Younger just made a return on the indie scene at the JCW show this past weekend. You know, like...
Wait, he returned to where?
Juggalo, JCW.
Oh, I thought you said GCW for a second. I was really confused. Oh, you know what, Dylan? I'm going to say something controversial here. Good for Drake. Do I want to be this guy's friend? No. But do I always hope for rehabilitation?
Yeah. And I think he said that in his promo, too, at JCW, that he was kind of like denouncing all that crazy bullshit that he was on.
Good.
He was like...
Dude, Drake used to be Drake used to be one of the most popular people that people popped for him as a fucking ref in NXT. People were like, "Oh, sick! Drake's in the main event of the takeover." You know, so yeah.
No, I'm a
closet Drake Younger mark, dude. I can't lie anymore.
Well, I think that while I am with you, that I'm all about second chances and seeing improvement in people. The problem is that, again, like I said, I've been dropped on my head a million times. I've had significant concussion issues in all seriousness. And that's why I stopped wrestling. Because my brain literally told me, man, it's about to get kind of personal, y'all. The doctor told me, like, when he sent me home, because I didn't have the money to pay for insurance or whatever happened. I can't even remember exactly what happened. But he sent me home. Maybe there was just nothing he could do. But he said, when you go to the bathroom, don't strain too much or you might have an aneurysm, like a brain aneurysm. Like, that's how bad my concussion issues were. So I do admit that. But also, that kind of makes me think, like, everything's a work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't trust anyone or anything like that. And I faced numerous betrayals in my life, like, on a personal level, outside of wrestling. Like, I was talking to you off the air about the story of me and my ex-fiance, which was an incredible story that we don't need to get into. But regardless, I'm always that kind of person that, like, I try not to take stuff at face value. Now, he may be genuine. I don't know this man at all. As a person, I always knew that crazy stuff he was in was, like, outrageous sounding to me, and, like, he was rightfully thrown out of the world or whatever. I don't know if he's actually committed any crimes or not, but, like, he did return, and, you know, hopefully there is rehabilitation and things have changed, and he said as much in his promo. I hope that that's true. I was never as big of a fan of his as you were. But of my era, like, we're talking about the era I wrestled in was, like, also his heyday, just in a bigger level in a different part of the country. Where he was the king of CCW when CCW had a name. Like, he was doing PWG shows.
And yeah, there's there's a PWG match. It's like him, Gargano, Chris Hero, and Kyle O'Reilly 4-way. And it's one of my favorite 4-ways. Also, his series in Germany with Thumbtack Jack. Fucking amazing.
So yeah, and these are the kind of
WXW.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Stringer's even seen those shows live. He might have been there for that. But I was never a big fan of him on that level. I had heard the name, and I've seen his matches, don't get me wrong. I was a little, like, not as big of a deathmatch fan for a long time. I was really a late bloomer when it came to the indie style of death matches. I like the Big Japan death matches of old. When the indie, like the American version, I was just like, dude, this stuff is, like, not wrestling to me almost. But I grew out of that, and I changed my mind, and I respect it a lot now. And you've heard from the GCs we reviewed, like, the proof is in the pudding. But at the time, like, his era, I was pretty down on death matches. So I haven't seen him that much to judge him as a wrestler at all. But the fact is, and let's just be real about it, I hope he has changed and found his way and gotten rid of all that absolutely insane shit he was saying. Again, and he did say that, to be fair, in his promo. But either way, he was a part of some crazy ass shit. You know, like he was saying some outlandish and offensive and terrible things. And the fact is, in a lot of places, that wouldn't fly. But in wrestling, whether you're watching WWE, whether you're watching AEW, again, they've had issues in the past. Maybe not as drastic of bad PR moves as WWE's had at all. But whether it's the Indies, WWE, or AEW, you're going to find something that's bad, morally, in some way. And I think we all have to kind of live with that fact as human beings. And that's just the world. It's nobody's fault. It's not the consumer's fault. It's the world we've been placed into and the world we have to live in. You know, and you could put that in every single thing we own probably has a horror story behind it in some way where it was made, unless it was just a factory or AI or some shit like that. And even then, you know, like we all have different places, so we're not here to judge morally. At the end of the day, I will say this is about the closest I've come to like throwing my hands up a little bit and be like, man, I don't know about this like anymore. Like maybe we could just do Bloodsport next time. You know,
well, here's the thing. If people don't care about us covering WWE, I definitely am fine not covering WWE and investing our time into more like covering other things in North America, right?
Yeah.
But if like with WWE being the most popular still, if people want us to cover that, I will cover it, right? Because we cover North America. But if it's something to where,
like you know? I'm more than anything, to be honest with you. Spoiler alert: I don't think these shows were very good, and I didn't have a lot of fun watching them before Brock came out, let alone after. So even coming in and all that stuff with Trump, and again, we're not a political show; we're not judging anybody. But it was really heavy-handed. You know, again, I think pretty much if somebody were to turn that shit off as soon as that happened, who would blame them? You know, like at the end of the day, like nobody would blame you for that either if that is your line. I bet there's some people that are doing like you have said many times, Nello. You don't really watch weekly. But you'll listen to our boys John and Way on Post Wrestling cover the shows. I think there's some people listening to this on Cage Match that might not watch the show, but they want to hear what we have to say about it as well. You know, so I'm cool with that. Again, I'm not that crazy over it where I was like, I'm going to come out here and just like, you know, talk crazy and down on anybody who watches. I'm not going to judge anybody over that. But it definitely wasn't my cup of tea as a show either. And I do think, honestly, there's a lot of metrics. Since we've seen this TKO stuff and really, like, you know, Triple H siding with, you know, Trump and aligning with his cabinet and a lot of the stuff that he's been saying and the talk and the bad PR every time they have a big show, like you talked about, Cena defending Vince. Like, it's just a lot at the end of the day. So we got into this, though. We are here to talk about the show, most importantly. I just wanted to get that off the top because, like, I can see online that's a major talking point. I didn't want you to think we're running away from it at the end of the day. You know, we're here to be honest, you know, at all costs, pretty much. So, first ever 2-night SummerSlam, MetLife Stadium. It says on Cage Match, the attendance for the first night was 50,493. I believe they announced 53,000 on the show, but we can presume that was a lie, ultimately. This is the stadium that the Jets and Giants play at. If you're an NFL fan, both of them New York teams, but it's based in New Jersey. New Jersey always getting the short end of the stick when it comes to these things. We come in, so they start this video where then we see Drewski. Who is this? Like, do you have any idea who this was?
Brewski?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy shows up fucking everywhere. Everything I watch. NBA, this shit. He pops up on my YouTube feed. He's just like he's a content creator and people like him.
Well, automatically, all you needed to say was he's a content creator.
Okay, you know Drewski because last year during the All-Star game, remember there was the clip went viral of the celebrity MVP award being handed out, and that one guy goes to grab it, and then it goes immediately to the other guy.
Yeah.
That was Drewski going to grab the trophy, and it did not go to him.
Okay, so he is at least somewhat of note. So he's here in a parking lot or something, and he's in like this suit. He's looking like fresh and stuff. He's smoking a cigar, and he's talking about how like this world is built on moments. And they show a clip of all these, I suppose, content creators. You know, Denise Salcedo, I think, was in here, and all these reactor people. I always wondered about this, Nello. Like, how do you portray this as live? Like, if you're a reactor on YouTube, you're like, how do you film it in like, you have to know what's going on, right? Or something's coming up to do this. Like, surely. Like, what if you just you're a reactor and nothing happens? Like, nothing important happens. Like that, like in the old days, like that one pay-per-view where, like, Big Show knocked out Daniel Bryan to end the show. And it was just like a dead finish. What are you going to do if you're a reactor?
Make up some bullshit. Just fake it.
Fake it till you make it.
Big Show at the WMD. God damn, this thing's just so strong.
I think you need to be a reactor, Nello. That's going to be our next project.
Spit my soda all over my screen, and I'm like, oh my god, thank God I didn't get punched by the Big Show. Shit. You know?
That reminded me of this one video I saw where it was like all about how shit Madden has become. Timely, because Madden's coming out next week. And he was like, some people have gotten paid by EA to have this bullshit reactions. And they showed this like nerd looking guy in a Detroit Lions jersey. And he's like, whoa, more microtransactions, Madden Ultimate Team cards. This is crispy, bro. And it's like, dude, this sucks. Like, nobody likes microtransactions. Ultimate Team is the biggest bullshit ever. It ruined the fucking franchise. So do you think that let's put it right on the table right now. We're not saying we know for sure. We're questioning. We're not declaring, we're questioning. Do you question if certain reactors were paid off for these WWE reactions? People like Drewski.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, you know, here's the thing. When our company will pay a content creator to play the game, we pay them to make videos. We don't pay them to say a particular thing about it, right? So It can totally backfire on us, and the person's like, "This is dog shit," and I'm like, "Great, I paid for that."
This game sucks. Yeah.
But I absolutely know that said that you can also pay to have people say whatever the fuck you want, and WWE feels like they're all about that, just people saying whatever they want, you know.
Yeah, no,
people saying what they want them to say, not whatever. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it. Pronouns, pal. Here, obviously Drewski was paid because he did the video to open the show. So he's like wrestling's all about moments and reactions and blah blah blah. So they have all.
That was something they said that really stuck out to me, was the whole, this is all about creating viral moments.
Yeah, what was that all about? I was like, fuck you. Like, I don't even know you, but still, fuck you for saying that.
Yeah, and I was like, man, if this doesn't sum up WWE's booking and like approach to matchmaking and like just in-ring work, fuck.
like TKO and like WWE's been shit for a long time. I think we can agree from a content perspective. Now, there's been some great shows with WWE. I'm not going to say it's all bad, but from a wrestling company perspective, they've had issues for a long, long time. But TKO has turned them into like literally what you said. They're a soulless company that they're like they don't even try to pretend to not be what they are. Have you seen this damn bullshit like circus known as WWE Unreal? Nello, they've come out with.
I have not watched any of it. I probably will not. Have you?
I have not seen anything outside of a couple of clips, but just the existence of this show makes me physically ill, Nello. What the fuck? Like, you are telling me, and Mama, I watched this with my grandma, who's a big WWE fan. She watched Unreal, and she's telling me all this stuff that happened on there. And I'm just thinking to myself, what the like, how are you putting this garbage show that I guarantee you, if we reviewed an Unreal episode, I guarantee you that show is full of shit. They're not going to show you the real scoop on everything. They're going to twist things around. They're going to give you their version of a narrative of things. I heard that the way they portrayed it, a big thing was showing the behind the scenes of the Tiffany and Charlotte feud. And the way she said it to me was that Tiffany was an instigator and Triple H made her apologize. Now, we know for a fact that Charlotte started that on TV first and tried to railroad her on interviews. Are you telling me they left that part out? Now, I don't know. I don't want to say for sure because I haven't seen it. But if they did that, that tells you right there, this show is not to be believed, A. And B, like, you're killing your feuds. Like, you know what? Something that really irked me, and this is not a WWE thing, but I bet you remember this. Do you remember when Jericho and Omega had their New Japan Dome match in the late 2010s? And the day after the match, Jericho did an episode of his podcast with Omega talking, and they were in a blood feud at the time. And one of the most hardcore matches in the Dome ever for New Japan. And one day later, they're talking about how great friends they are, and they explain all the spots in their match, and I'm like, dude, what? Like, couldn't this have waited a year? Like, did you have to ruin it right away? Like, we get it that wrestling's not real, but at least try to preserve some of the magic. Now companies are openly doing this. They don't even try. There's no soul to this. And WWE now, at the start of their show, at the start of their debut on Raw on Netflix, we reviewed it. What's the first thing they said? We create stories. Baby faces and heels. Good guys and bad guys. They said that at the opening of the Netflix debut. And now we're all about creating viral moments. You don't have to tell us this, man. Like, we know that that's what you're about. It's TKO. But why are you telling us this to start off your show? It just sucks, dude. I don't know how else to say. Really annoying. So then, special guest host Cardi B starts off the show. She's out here with like this black feather dress. I really thought we were going to do a lot more with her. I wonder if that changed because she cut this like really not great promo here, I would say, where she just yelled about being in WWE, and it was a waste of time, and we didn't see her anymore. They didn't do any other promos with her. Opening match on night one, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. This whole deal had been ended with I will admit, a very good go-home segment on Raw, where it ended with Bronson Reed stealing Roman Reigns' shoes. As absurd as that sound, the beating they gave them was awesome. The 2-on-2 beating. And he comes out with the shoes. They have Seth's briefcase. And Braun, especially Braun Breaker, has been asked to really be a main character on Raw the last couple of weeks, and I think he's done a great job, I have to say. So they go back and forth. They brawl to start off, like, good way to follow up the feud on Monday. They go in, and I also like, too, that Bronson came out wearing the shoes around his neck the same as Roman's Ulafala. Like, that was like the Shulafala, if anything, here. And so they brawl. They come in, and the heel team takes control a lot. At one point, Breaker does this wild leap, like he just launches into a shoulder tackle into Roman Reigns. It looked great. They did the old smop finish, Hama Nakabono, where Reed took Breaker onto his back and then double splashed Jey Uso. I thought this was cool as hell. They hit the Steinerizer at one point with Bronson being Scott and Braun being his dad. It looked great as well. The baby faces fired up, and they go in and they talk about, they keep cutting to Heyman here. That was a big deal here. Finally, the baby faces come back. They ended up going in. They teamed up to hit the 1D on Bronson Reed. It looked like Reed landed on both of them and hurt them both more than he got hurt, to be honest. And the big point of the match was Reigns shoving Jey out of the way as Breaker hit a spear on Uso. That led Jey fire up, hit the Uso splash on Reed, and they ended up getting the win here. I thought this was a basic match, but really well done, and it really worked for the crowd. I thought this was among the hottest the crowd had gotten on either night, and they escalated the match well, and I have to give credit to really the heel team, who I think did a phenomenal job. Both of these guys are anchors to Raw right now in the best way. It's got a 7.04 rating on Cage Match as we speak, a day later. Literally, the night 2 just ended like 20 minutes ago as we started, so to give you a thing there. It's got a 7.04 rating. I thought the match was good and worked for what they wanted. The crowd was actually into it, which they weren't in for a lot of it on these two shows, I have to say. And I thought it was really well done. I personally would have had Braun and Bronson win. Like, you put all this heat on them on the show. You have what you have planned at the end of the night. Why not just put the rest of the Seth Riders over and let them school the former bloodline and give them the win? But other than that, I thought it was well done, and the fans went crazy. And Jey Uso had new gear with his shorts. So what do you think of the match?
Good opener. I'd probably say like the second best match of the night. One of the better Roman matches because it wasn't buried within just layers of dramatic bullshit. It was pretty to the point. I like the team of double Braun, Braun squared, Braun and Braun. Braun. They're pretty sick. That 1D was goddamn ugly. I can't lie. It kind of killed the finish, but I totally agree with you. I think, especially looking at how the show ended, I would have liked the Seth Riders to have started off dominantly and end just as dominantly.
It just gives you more storyline options going forward. I mean, okay, Roman saved Jey. Where do we go with that? Are you just going to start the bloodline up again? Like, I don't think anybody really wants that. Like, I think they want these guys to go in their own directions, and it would definitely be more interesting for me. And Roman probably won't even be around that much. So, I don't know. I don't know what they gained from this, but I do think it was a well-done match. And I'm a big fan of Braun and Reed. I honestly would just have them be the tag champions. I would try to use them in the same way that AEW used the Hurt Business, and just have them be dominant. I was so fucking happy. AEW tangent coming for a second. The minute they kicked that geek MJF out of the Hurt Syndicate, like I was like, thank you, God. Finally, no more silly stuff. They beat the fuck out of FTR. This is what we need from this group. So I just wanted to praise that publicly because it's something, I don't know if Tony listened, but thank you so much for doing that. But I would have Braun and Bronson be that for Raw. Like, let them be an unstoppable, because they come across like monsters. They look great. Their offense is great. The Spear and the Tsunami are both death tier finishers. Just let them like wreck shit and let this group control Raw. And then around WrestleMania, they show some ass and get things back. But nevertheless, Jay and Roman won. I guess they tried to make it a big deal that Jay got the win instead of Roman, but whatever. They start off, and then we move on to the next match, the women's tag team titles. Charlotte and Alexa Bliss versus Judgment Day. There was no angle to this, other than the recurring storylines of A, Roxanne is filling in for Liv Morgan, and B, Charlotte and Alexa are friends, but they don't really want to be friends, but they're kind of friends anyway. Thankfully, we don't have to watch SmackDown, so I don't know all about that, but I am aware of the Judgment Day feud. And I have to say, Raquel and Roxanne have been doing a really good job as a tag team. So we start off here. They kind of pair off Perez with Bliss and Raquel and Charlotte. So it was smart. A big girl and a little girl kind of team. It makes sense for both times. They built to a hot tag for Charlotte and then another hot tag to Bliss. Kind of slow action, in my opinion. There was a lot of chin locks going on here from Raquel. When Bliss got her second hot tag, Raquel started to fire up and do her power moves, so that was good. Perez and Charlotte came in. At one point, Charlotte did a moonsault onto both Perez and Rodriguez, but Perez came back up and hit her double jump lion salt. At one point, Bliss looks for the dead fall, and then suddenly Charlotte's up, and Bliss comes in with a punch. Perez ducks, and she punches Charlotte right in the face. That allows Roxy to hit Pop Rocks, but that gets broken up. Bliss looks for deadfall. They do this long tease where Charlotte hits the ring, and she looks like she's about to drill Alexa, but then she turns around and hits Raquel. Bliss hits deadfall, and new tag team champions here. What'd you think of the match?
Good match, man. Roxanne truly earns the title of the Prodigy. I think that Charlotte and Alexa winning is the right choice. Like, they are people that you can really build a division around without getting drowned in other storylines, because the Judgment Day is like where titles go to die, straight up. For the most part, they're just not defended very much, and they're always just tied up in other things. But I thought this was fine. I'm excited to see what they do with the division. I hope that they actually do something, but I hold my breath. What about you?
Well, I wouldn't hold my breath on that, but I do think that this was a good match. Roxanne's awesome. Like, there's no way you could look at her wrestling and not think, this girl is legit in every way. Raquel, I also have been very impressed by. We both praised her. I do think it's interesting that they took the titles off of them. I think it could be a sign that Liv is probably coming back soon with her shoulder. At least in some form, even if not to wrestle, just to be a storyline point. Alexa and Charlotte, I mean, they fit all right as a team. I don't think they're a great team yet. Maybe they'll get some more chemistry as time goes along. One of the things, it really bothered Mama that they were not matching gear. Charlotte came out with this like light blue gear that had rhinestones on it, like Fruity Pebbles, and Bliss was in her black gear. So they need to get some matching gear. But yeah, good match. I had the first match at 3.5 stars, and I had this one at 3.25. What about you? Like dual sevens on the cage match scale, let's say.
I'd go 3.25 and 3. So just right below
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of on the same page, more or less. Up next, we had what did we have? Oh yeah. They do the Papa John's advertisement spot. You had Tozawa was in there, the LWO, the New Day, Grayson Waller, and then Nikki Bella came in. There was like one slice of pizza left. They all argued over it. Then Nikki came in with like 5 pizzas, and then nobody ate any of the pizzas. You a fan of Papa John's?
Not enough to give a shit about this.
Okay. I'm more of a little.
What about you?
I'm more of a Little Caesars guy myself, to be honest. But nevertheless, total waste of time. Commercial here. Up next, we've got Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. The build up to this can be summed up by the go home promo from Sami, where he said, and I quote, "I don't know why we're fighting. I don't even care. I just want this to be over with." Karrion Kross, the reaction online, it is the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde moment. Because in the arena, they cheered for him. But then you watch his matches. Then you see his cage match ratings, 3.59. What was this, man? Like, what was this match? Like,
what was this feud? What was this
feud?
What was these past few months?
Yeah, this feud's been going on since January, my friend. And this is it? Like, this is the payoff? Man. So yeah, the match was really slow and plotting. Anytime Kross was in control, he would yell at him and he'd be like, "Say it! Say it! Say it! Say it, you dumb bastard!" And like, Kross is like the king of overacting. If he just wrestles normally, he's perfectly fine. If you add in all this acting stuff, he makes me roll my eyes all the time. I was not a fan of this match at all. The big story was Scarlett Bordeaux came in with the lead pipe, and he was about to swing it at Sami. Sami countered it, and then Scarlett gave Sami the pipe. It was like, use it, knock my husband out cold. And then Sami was like, nah, fuck that. So he threw the pipe down onto the stairs, and he ended up hitting the haluva kick for the win. It's finally over, thank God. What star rating? It's finally over, thank God. What star rating do you give this?
Dud, straight up.
Yeah, this match sucked.
There's something about a trilogy that just never gets better. You know, like
this was like Matrix 3.
This has put Sami in just the weirdest, just shittiest position. And Kross is like, apparently, like I do not see them re-signing Kross and Scarlett with how cutthroat they've become. But, you know, Kross could probably do well in TNA, dude. I know that he burnt that bridge, but I feel like TNA's gone through so many different managements since then. Yeah. Like, yeah. Because we saw before that AEW didn't grab him. So, you know, it's one of those things of, do you want to keep wrestling? And I don't want to see him do a GCW run or something like that. Like, we already got Reggie from NXT. Can we stop with the NXT people and GCW?
Okay, here's the vision, Nello, that you don't get. Here it is, GCW. Hammerstein 3 next year. Another shitty show. Killer Cross versus the Nomad, Bishop Dyer. Are you getting goosebumps right now like The Rock? Baron Corbin versus Cross.
Oh, that's GCW. Who it is. Baron Corbin. It took me a second to realize who Bishop Dyer was.
Yes.
God damn. Where is he?
Yeah, where is he? You said you liked his run in GCW.
I liked his one Bloodsport match.
That's true. I think it wasn't even a Bloodsport match. Yeah, it was on GCW. That was one of the best matches of that show. Yeah. Was his match. But yeah, you have to imagine his price probably isn't that cheap. There were the rumors that he was backstage at AEW, though. So, who knows? But yeah, if you're Tony Khan, you look at Cross and you're probably thinking, I didn't get you before. I'm not going to get you now. I think Cross needs to go back to AAA. That's where he came from originally. Big Triple Mania surprise. What if they re-signed Scarlett but not Cross?
For what? For what?
That's true. She does nothing. Maybe she'd be like a backstage interviewer. She's a good manager, honestly.
She is a good manager, but it's like one of those things where like I just don't see WWE paying managers anymore.
Like,
why pay to have someone be a manager? Exactly, outside of like a Heyman. I just don't see them like, putting out money for that. Like, what's the other guy's name? Robert Stone. I feel like he's the only other exception in WWE.
And even he's practically a TNA guy at this point. Like, they basically siphoned him off to TNA. Match sucked. Who knows what they're going to do next? Like you said, poor Sammy. I hope they have something bigger planned for him in the near future. So then we got a Hulk Hogan tribute. They showed Nick Hogan, his son. We don't have to get like super in depth into it with Hogan passing away, but he was one of the biggest names of all time in wrestling. They did a bigger tribute to him on Raw. I was afraid we were going to see him just repeat what we saw on Raw again, but they kept it toned down at least here. Do you have any thoughts on the Hulkster?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I did a thing on the Easter Layer Patreon. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, I talked 20 minutes about his career and life and all the bullshit that he's done. But yeah, I definitely wasn't like it. I didn't feel anything for this. I have to say. So we go in to the Tiffany versus Jade match. No build that I can understand. A dual babyface match, which Tiffany has had repeated of these. I've noted. It makes me wonder. Thinking about that Unreal thing. So they framed that whole deal with Charlotte to make it seem like Tiffany was wildly unprofessional. And her whole title reign has basically been either A, fighting Nia Jax, or B, a babyface versus babyface match. They have no storylines. They haven't even tried anywhere. This is like the most improbable title reign, I feel like, because the only reason she's still champion is because Jade is so obviously not ready for that spot. And it's just so wild to me. Jade came out with Jamaican colors on her, shouting out to her dad. They go on. Stratton tried here. She hit a big suicide dive at the start. Hit this swanton look, which looked awesome. It was like a direct hit on her head, on just Jade's stomach. I thought this was one of the best swanton bombs I've seen. They do some counters back and forth. Launches her into a Falcon Arrow. Looks for the prettiest moonsault ever. Jade drops her with boots to the face. That leads to Cargill hitting a choke slam, and she looks for Jaden from the top rope, but Stratton reverses that into kind of like the victory roll face buster that Penta does sometimes. And that lets her hit the prettiest moonsault ever. It wasn't as bad as that Asuka Jade match was at the Queen of the Ring, but it wasn't good either. It's got a 5.52 rating, and this was kept really short. Another thing with Tiffany, it makes me wonder if some people, Tiffany's not very politically favored, despite being the champion, because once again, her match was only 7 minutes. Her match with Trish was going great, and that was still only an 8-minute match. Here, I think it was the right call, though. 7 minutes, nothing went off the rails. It wasn't bad to watch like the Asuka match. And I thought Tiffany worked really hard to make this work. Like, I thought this was better than I thought it would be. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Tiffany has had a very interesting run in that she's always had kind of an uphill fight in different ways. With Charlotte, it's about standing her ground and going against, like, arguably one of the tougher women in the division, just in all senses. And I say that complimentary. And then with Trish, it's matching a Legend's aura, and then also, matching a Legend's aura. And then with Jade, it's, now you have to be the workhorse that elevates this person to a better match. I think that this is the weakest of those three matches, but still, like, nothing, I wouldn't say bad. I'd probably go like 5-ish on this, with so pretty close to the inmates. I'm just happy they didn't pull the trigger on Jade here. It's not time, and this was still proof of that. For the life of me, WWE gave Jelly Roll 10 more minutes than they gave the women. And you can argue that the shorter a Jade match is, the better it is, but she's also only going to get better through working longer in the ring. So I think that, and this is something that I'll talk about later as well, but formulas and just being comfortable in these formulas of, like, this is the Jade match, right? It's sub 10 minutes. It's just going to be the same moves, and you're just going to have some awkward stuff, and it's still just not going to click. And I think that we'll talk about it in the main event, but same sort of formulas.
And I think Tiffany's getting a raw deal in this title reign, because she really impressed me in this match. I still would go like 2 3/4, 5 out of 10 probably. But I thought her performance was really strong and carried this to make it slightly above average when it could have been a bad match. And like I said, not everybody can figure out the Jade puzzle. And I think she's worked really hard, and she deserves a lot of credit. And she's been put in some really shit situations, to be honest. So I'll tell you right now, I think Tiffany's really doing great work, just in a bad situation. If she were getting used right, I think her reign would be looking really great. But it just isn't happening, and it's unfortunate. So then we recap the build-up between Logan Paul and Jelly Roll. They had the Jimmy Kimmel thing where Logan Paul smacked the shit out of Jelly Roll for real. That was good. And Jelly Roll's trying to prove himself as a real life fighter, I guess. I have no idea who this man is or any of his music. Do you know? Name me one Jelly Roll song, Nello.
Name me one Jelly Roll song?
Yeah, do you know any?
Wild Ones, Save Me, All My Life, Need a Favor, Best for Me,
Whoa.
Son of a Sinner, Halfway to Hell, Somebody Save Me, Bottle and Mary Jane, Almost Home, Creature, Same Asshole, Hard Fought Hallelujah, Only, Fall in the Fall, Love One, Glitter, I Need You, Even Angels Cry, Smoking Section, Band plays on. Last Dance with Mary Jane. Twisted. Nothing Left at All. Tears Could Talk. Empty House. Wheels Fall Off. Savage Like She. Dancing with the Devil. The Hate Goes On. And Dead Man Walking.
Wow. What Google search did you get that off of?
I was quick there, wasn't I, with the Google search?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this.
I've never listened to Jelly Roll, Dylan. Who the fuck do you think I am?
Okay. Can you tell me this one question? Because at one point, my mom walked in, and she was excited to know that Jelly Roll. She was like, "Oh, I didn't know he wrestled." I was like, "It's only one match." But they came in. Mamaw claimed that he is a country singer, whereas Mom claimed he was a rapper. Do you know if he is one or the other, or both of them? Or some kind of country rapper?
You know, I don't want to get political, so I'm just going to say no comment.
Okay. No political. This is a no political zone. Other than the politics that were played to get in this match, unfortunately, I'm sure backstage, I would have tried to politic to get out of this match if I could have. So they start off with Logan Paul and Jelly Roll. They do some basic stuff. Stall early. Jelly Roll throws some forearms. Logan tags into Drew. And then Drew tags in. And Orton's like, "Come on, tag me in, man. Let me fight him." And then when he turns around to tag him, Drew like shoves him in the back of the head.
Dude.
And then Jelly Roll's like, "I gotta do this, man. I gotta prove I'm a real man. Come on, Randy, let me do this, man. Come on." And then Randy's like, "All right, you show him who you are. Show him who the fuck you are. Get his ass, motherfucker." And Jelly Roll's all fired up and all this. And Drew's like smirking at him. And then he said, "This is the day the music dies," Drew said. So he comes in with a Glasgow kiss. Like, Jelly Roll hits a couple of punches, and Drew hits the headbutt. Logan tags in. They do a double suplex on Jelly Roll. And Jelly Roll was in this match forever as the Ricky Morton. Like, this went on and on and on.
I think it was the first 7 or 8 minutes was just Jelly Roll heat, which is the funniest sentence I've ever said regarding wrestling.
What the fuck was this match? Who laid this out? Who is the agent in this match? Explain yourself. Whoever you are. I know it wasn't TJ Wilson, because I will not accept that. Who was the agent? I need to know. Because whoever laid this match out. And the thing is, it wouldn't surprise me, though. Because Jelly Roll did all these interviews where he was like, "Yeah, man, wrestling's real. Like, anybody who says it's fake's a bullshitter. I broke my pinky bone on a bump I took training." And so, maybe Jelly Roll wanted to be in this match as long as possible. And he demanded, like, "Hey, I don't want to do some bullshit celebrity match. I want to be in there and fucking wrestle." And they're like, "All right, we need you to sell a bunch and build to the Orton hot tag." When in reality, I think the match would have been a lot better. First off, if they cut it in half. But secondly, the heat should have been on Orton. 2-on-1 on him. A big part of this build-up is how Orton feels like he should protect Jelly Roll, which makes no fucking sense for his character whatsoever. But still, nonetheless, he doesn't want him to get hurt. We saw it with him getting hit with a Claymore in Saturday Night's main event, and how guilty Randy was. Have Orton valiantly fight the two heels off. And then build to a big hot tag for Jelly Roll, where he gets to come in, do some spots, get Claymored, and then build to the finish. Like, does that not sound like a bit better of a match than what we got here? Cut 7 minutes off. Make this a 10 or 11 minute match. Orton sells. Jelly Roll gets Claymored, Orton hits a bunch of RKOs, and then you go to the finish. Instead, what we got was, like you said, 8 to 9 minutes of Jelly Roll selling. They go to the outside. McIntyre hits a Claymore on Jelly Roll on the outside. Logan Paul hits his right hand, loaded right hand, and he acts like a rock star. Logan gets handed some prime energy. He full on Stone Colds 2 prime energies, and then hits his big frog splash from the top rope onto Jelly Roll on the table, which I do have to admit looked pretty fucking awesome. Like,
dude,
this
he
looked
fucked Jelly Roll up. Jelly Roll got hit so hard that he bounced off and then landed backwards on his head. That was sick. I respect Jelly Roll for taking that bump, dude. I'll be the first to say it. I respect Jelly Roll.
And Mama was like so buying into this. When she saw this, she was like, "Oh my god, he killed him! Like, he's done forever. He'll never sing again after this."
I'm assuming we're gonna get some kind of follow-up video by Logan because I want to say he was wearing MetaQuest sunglasses, so like those filming ones.
Yeah, he was. So Orton sells 2-on-1. Suddenly, like, it takes forever for them to drag Jelly Roll out of the back. But then, much like Mick Foley in Hell in a Cell, he says, "Oh no, I can't go back. I gotta wander. I gotta help Randy." So he stumbles his way back to the ring. He looked completely exhausted. If this was selling, I do have to praise him. But I do think he got fucked up for real. I think you're right about that. In the end, Jelly Roll gets the tag, fires up, and this should have been the ending moment of the match. Like what we got here. They nailed the ending segments perfectly. So he comes in, fires up, clotheslines both of them, hits a choke slam to Logan Paul just like he did on Jimmy Kimmel, and then hits the Boss Man Slam on Drew, which looked good, I do have to admit. He hit the Boss Man Slam, hits an RKO to Drew, and then Logan Paul shoves, like Drew had hit the Claymore on Jelly Roll, RKO to Drew, Logan throws Randy out of the ring, and then Logan hits this insane looking frog splash for the win. What did you think? This has on the inmates on Cage Match. They gave this a 5.16, so lower than Tiffany and Jade.
Dude, I have no beef with you if you enjoy this. This is not for me. This is not the wrestling that I subscribe to.
No, not at all.
There's nothing that I enjoyed about this. I thought that the spots with Jelly Roll were all really bad. He did not look good. He looked gassed as fuck. This was like watching Luke Gallows in the G1, dude.
Oh.
Like just gassed nonsense. And then the parts with the 3 wrestlers weren't particularly great either. I'd go 3 out of 10, and that 3 is for the frog splash.
The frogs, both of his splashes looked great. The one through the table and the finisher, like, they were both great. I do have to admit. I think it's interesting how, like, quickly Drew distanced himself from this. On the interview, he was like, "Yeah, my match happened, but what about that main event with Seth Rollins? So he screwed over CM Punk." And he's still playing into the CM Punk feud because that's so much better than what he's doing here, I would say. Drew is in a tough spot. He's like the Sammy of SmackDown, where he should be doing something better, but instead, this is what we got. I would say, like I said, I can see why this worked for the fans and some people. They kept cutting to his wife, too. I would give it a 4 out of 10. Like, 2-star special. I don't think it was embarrassing. It was just boring. Like, overall, for the most part. They hit the high spots well, but there was 15 minutes of boredom in between those. But it was better than Jay Leno in WCW, right?
Yeah.
That's about as nice as I can say.
That's the bar we're doing now.
Yes. So then we got a segment I know we loved. a hype video of CM Punk going back to the original Summer of Punk in Ring of Honor. And so he goes in. Their big story is Punk is the king of summer. All of his best runs have been the Summer of Punk 1 and the Summer of Punk 2. And even in AEW, they didn't show that, but they alluded to it. That he won the belt in June and carried it to the summer or whatever. Gunther's a monster. Who can stop him? He's like who is the best in the world. So we found out that it was neither of them. They start off. Punk comes out with this Fantastic Four gear. Have you seen Fantastic Four or Superman?
I have not seen either. Have you?
No, I was going to ask if you recommended them or not. So here's my problem. I'm a fan of both of them in the comics. I was a huge fan of Smallville. But every version of the Superman movies and the Fantastic Four movies have all sucked. So these have gotten good reviews. My friend Sandre told me that it was good, but I don't trust his word. I would rather hear your version. You are a film like major in college, practically. But still, I wanted to see if you liked it or not. But regardless, maybe I'll see it one day. I'm really more interested in. I was gonna go see Ballerina, but I lost track of time and ended up getting taken out of theater. So one day I'll watch all of these. I'm really hyped for the Mortal Kombat 2 movie coming out in October. That's the movie I really want to see. But nevertheless, Punk acknowledges that he stole his catchphrase from the Thing and says it's clobbering time. The crowd was really into Punk, I do have to admit, once again here. And again, this crowd wasn't that in. They were more hot for day one than day two, like by far. But still, they come in. He tries to attack the arm a bit. He's working over the arm for Gunther. Gunther's offense is like 90% chops. He chops him in the chest. He chops him in the back. He chopped him in the leg. He chopped him in the forehead once. Like, it was Chop City for him.
Throat, too. Can't forget that.
And in the throat. He chopped his ass all over the place. He tied him into the Tree of Woe and chopped him some more. While he was upside down, he chopped him right side up, left, right, and everywhere in between. Punk tries to fire up with his running calf kick. Gunther turns this into a sharpshooter, and then Punk reverses that into his own sharpshooter. They fire up with some powerbomb spots. Punk hits his running knee, and then the bulldog. He looks for the GTS, but Gunther drops him with a lariat. He hits the big splash from the top for more near falls. Gunther chokes him upside down with his foot. They go into the announcer table. Gunther's posing, being all cocky. Punk like flips his leg out from under him, just like he did to Drew at WrestleMania a couple years ago. Gunther hits the table. He comes up with an obvious blood capsule here. So he's busted open, quote unquote. Wade on commentary is trying to be like, he might have broke his nose at the table. So he comes in. Punk fires up. Finally, Gunther gets one more sleeper, but Punk ends up powering out of that. Go to sleep. Gunther's doing this comical wobbly selling, and Punk pulls him into a second go to sleep for the win. New champion. And this was the start of the end of the show. This is an 8.66 rating on Cage Match. Where are we at? We have hated CM Punk for the entirety of our run on this show. Is this the day you tell me that Punk delivered big and stole your heart?
Not delivered big. So my biggest complaint with this is that this is the Gunther formula match now. I'm going to whoop your ass for 95%, and then I'm going to get arrogant and lose. Like, this is the formula for when he loses, down to him saying the whole thing where he's like, you're never going to be a champion. You're never going to get the belt. Like he said the exact same things to Jey Uso, and when the heel's doing that to them and like slapping them in the face, right then and there I said Punk's winning. You don't say that to someone and then they lose. Like it's there's certain things in wrestling, right? And WWE follows those fucking rules. I don't even want to call them rules, but cliches. So yeah, like I thought that this had good in-ring work. You know, it was a lot of, like Pollock touched on, a lot of Bret Hart tribute stuff. Again, not necessarily for me. Sounds like it's for Punk.
Yes.
But yeah, like this, I'd go 7. Like this is...
Yeah.
And it's like I haven't, since probably WrestleMania, that women's triple threat, there hasn't really been a standout WWE match for me. And I still don't think that this quite broke that threshold either.
No, that the triple threat at Mania was a fantastic match by any standards. I'd have to go through it. There's been a couple of good Raw matches that stood out, but they weren't like super great. The mixed 6-person tag this week on Raw was really good. AJ and Asuka and Kyrie versus Dominic and Raquel and Roxanne was a ton of fun. But yeah, 7 feels right for this. Like this was a better match than pretty much everything else on the card. You know, and it's got an 8.66. It's a little high, but I don't think it's that, like, some insane rating or anything like that. Let's look at some of the comments. 10 out of 10 rating from Yee I Watch Wrestling. This match is freaking insane. It isn't a WWE match. This is a full-on European Walter versus Indie ROH CM Punk. The match starts with some wrestling, which this will become a theme you'll see in the match here in this opening wrestling bit. Punk just survives getting out of a bad situation Gunther has him in. And then once that first chop lands, which was a huge point early on, Punk was just avoiding it at all costs. Once it lands, this match completely changes. It becomes insanely physical. I mean, Gunther legitimately beats the hell out of Punk. Punk's chest is leaking not even halfway into this match. But I also like how this entire match, Punk never dies. He's always alive at all times. He's never out of it, which gives everyone that sense of hope. I do think that's actually true. Yeah, he did do that. The match turns completely upside down when outside Gunther gets busted open on the announce table, which I personally didn't expect to bust him open. But holy hell, Gunther sold this beautifully. I love how every time Gunther loses, it's because of his own doing, as a certain co-host just said in his comments here.
Like it's in line with the character, but it also makes him look fucking dumb at this point because we've seen it so many times. And him like stopping to gloat or whatever, like before he got busted open, felt very uncharacteristic. This dude's whole thing is that the mat is sacred, all this stuff. And they haven't done some storyline to make him like, you know, turn away from that and become more of a sports entertainer. Like, no, he's always been a wrestler.
That worked against Sami Zayn a couple of years ago at WrestleMania, where he was shit-talking his wife. He stood up on top of the ropes, and Sammy caught him with the Brain Buster, the move he's never done before. Like, his gravitas costing him was perfect in that match, and you've gotten diminishing returns on it. But to some people, they liked it. But with me, I'm 100% on your side. So it has everything from story to an incredible old style match. I did the cash in, which I personally expected, but they did get me when he went to walk away. Would have been better if Paul had started walking away with him. Insanely memorable moment, not as good as the first, but not great. But great. So that was a 10 out of 10 rating. 4 out of 10 for WrestleFan. The first 5 or 10 minutes and the last 5 minutes were the best part of this match. That means we got 15 minutes of a boring slog in between that saw Gunther do a move, wait, do a move, wait, repeat. The WWE formula at its worst, which I agree with that as well. The crowd was dead during the entire middle, so no, they weren't electric throughout. I really enjoyed Punk countering and avoiding the chops, and the finishing sequence was really good. Then we're treated to an obvious Money in the Bank cash-in. If you didn't see this coming, I'm jealous of you. I'll give Punk credit for gassing out at 20 minutes instead of 10. Did I write this review? Yeah. Like I said, I think this was one of my burners. I wrote this. If he decides to do a 20-minute match next time, he'll be able to keep a better pace than sitting on his ass outside the ring for 2 minutes straight. Another thing that did happen in this match. When it's reported in those dirt sheets that Seth's injury is a work, that's not taking a dookie on them. My God, wrestling fans would rather eat someone else's shit out of the toilet than realize sometimes wrestling journalists get it right. So I'm not sure what that was all about, but yeah. So again, both of those actually made good points, and that's why I think we're in between them. Like we both said about 7. So then Punk's trying to cry. The crowd's going nuts, chanting CM Punk. And then we hear, "Burn it down!" And Seth comes hobbling out on crutches. Paul Heyman's there with the briefcase. And Seth's like, "I'm coming for you, Punk. I'm coming for you." Ha ha ha. Blah, 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 blah. And he turns around, crutches his way out, and suddenly he stops. And it spreads his hands out like wings. The crutches drop. And he reveals it was all a ruse. The injury was bullshit.
He grabs the microphone. He says, "John Pollock reported this right. Do not listen to anyone but Pollock. He's the most legitimate guy in wrestling journalism nowadays. Meltzer cited him." Seriously, dude, that was my favorite thing about this. I was like, holy shit, vindication. Because I'm a big Pollock guy.
Me too. So, Pollock is my friend. Like, I've been on a show with him before, and he's an idol of mine. So I love John Pollock. Yes, vindication for John, as we all do. Anybody with 2 brain cells knows he's great. But he takes the brace off, runs in the ring, hits the briefcase strike on Punk, hits him again with it, cashes in, stomp, wins. Heyman hugs him. Bronson and Braun come out. They pose to end the show. Fireworks go off. In a cash-in, I think everybody saw coming. What'd you think?
Really cool way to end the show. This is how it'll be remembered by, they talk about big viral moments. This is definitely one of them. I like the fake out. It's so funny to me because when you go to it, you're like, okay, so Seth faked the injury and let LA Knight win. But this just look like the only person who honestly looks like shit in this, not CM Punk, just LA Knight. Because that guy, the only way he can beat Seth Rollins is Seth let him. Like that was my first thought. I was just like, fuck, LA Knight's a geek.
I just thought this was like super predictable and not particularly interesting, but at least it follows up the storyline of Seth hating Punk. You know, at least, because that's something that's been a consistent ever since Punk returned. I don't know what good this actually does Punk, however, because this feud has really, there's just not a lot of gas left in it for me. Like, whatever interest there ever was, like, it's gone now. And I think that they should be trying to maximize what they can get out of Punk. Because no matter what we think of him, he clearly has his fans. And is this what his fan base wants to see? Him going against Seth Rollins again and again and again. I mean, I don't think so.
Not me.
Well, yeah. I mean, we hate Punk. So,
I mean, here's the thing: WWE seems to try to be creating these legendary rivalries. Like, you look at AEW, and you're like, man, something like a Swerve and Hangman, and how visceral and how good of a feud that is. And then you look at like a Punk and Rollins, and you're like, it's nowhere. It's not even in the same like 10 levels, you know? It's so far out of the sphere. And yeah, I don't know. It's just they keep going back to it. I'm into Rollins as champion. But I'm not into Punk chasing him for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even that into Rollins as champion, to be honest. I like the group. I think the group is awesome. And I hope that this all goes somewhere with it, pretty much. I hope that this leads to something for Braun and Bronson, probably just Braun, but I hope this elevates them in some way overall. But as a moment, this was one that I really thought was going to happen, and then it happened. So, to me, I don't really have any strong feel. It wasn't like, oh, Mama, she went insane over this. She screamed when Seth came out. And I think there are certain people that probably love this. But for me and you, and I think a lot of the fans that are on Cage Match and whatnot, we knew it was coming. John Pollock knew what he was talking about. So with that said,
I mean, so they got me though. Like I thought that, Cole saying, "Oh, he has until June to cash it in." Like they set it up very well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they did their best they could in basically an impossible situation. Overall, though, what did you think of the night one?
Very weak, incredibly weak.
Yeah. I thought it could have been a lot better, to be honest. And it's a shame because there just wasn't enough here, even for a 6-match show. There just wasn't a lot of meat on this bone. I thought the opener and the main event were both good enough, and I thought that the women's tag belt was good enough too. But everything else, for this show, it was just a slog, man. And I was really waiting for it to be over. But by the time it did, I thought it was really boring. Okay, so let's move on to Sunday. The show just happened. They said it was 60,000 people there. I don't think that's true. The show started off this time, instead of the Drewski video that we saw, they ended up coming in with Triple H coming out because he cannot resist getting the opening match pop. Do you think that he did it himself, or was he forced into it, like he always says?
Oh, poor guy was forced for sure.
Yeah, no way that this was his idea whatsoever. Regardless, the show starts off with Rhea Ripley coming out, Io Sky, great reactions for both. Naomi gets a great reaction. Naomi has her dad playing guitar for her, which is pretty cool. I have to say about this match, it was going to be really tough to compare this match to the WrestleMania triple threat with Bianca. But I thought there was flashes of the greatness that Io and Rhea have. We got flashes of that mixed in with the character work of Naomi. And I thought this was a good match, but not great at all. They tried to even redo the spot from WrestleMania where Io hit the moonsault on Naomi while she was pinning Ripley, just like they did at WrestleMania, where Io hit it on Bianca and won that way. But this time Naomi moved. So I thought that was nice that they kind of called back to their own great match. But overall, the Naomi character was okay, and she looked good. She hit some great jumping knee strikes on Io. And I thought she looked good. Io, I thought, was fantastic. Whether bumping or doing her moveset, I thought she looked great. Ripley is always super over with the fans and did a lot of really hard-hitting kicks and stuff. She utilized her long legs really well. In the end, though, they continued the recurring theme of Ripley lately, that she cannot beat Io, in the end, Bianca. She hit a super riptide on Io from the top rope, and right when she's about to get the pin, Naomi came up behind her and schoolboyed her for the win. What'd you think of the match here? It has a 7.93 rating on Cage Match. I think that's a little high. What about you? I think you might be on mute.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Sorry, you broke up. What was that?
Oh, I was going to say, I said, I like the callbacks to the WrestleMania match. Ripley hit a super riptide on Io. Naomi stole the pin. It's got a 7.93 rating on Cage Match, which I personally think is a little high, but I liked a lot of what they did in the match. What did you think?
I liked this. Like, I think you said it very well. The excellence of Io and Rhea with Naomi's great character work. I thought that this was definitely one of the better matches on the show and for the weekend.
Yeah, this is up there for the match of the weekend for me. If you said this is the best one, I wouldn't argue with it at all. But I do think it was a little less than the WrestleMania match. Up next was the SmackDown Tag Title 6-pack TLC match. You had the champions, the Wyatt Six, which was Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy. You had DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, Andrade and Rey Fenix, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits. This match has an 8.65 rating on Cage Match. And, I mean, it was a pretty batshit match by WWE standards, I would say. They did a lot of stuff here where they utilized, like, outside people. They tried to make it, like... Candice, I think, was the first one to run in to help Johnny Gargano and Ciampa. And at one point, Ciampa, like... They did the spot where he was hanging like Jeff Hardy from the belt thing, and it looked like Frazier was about to do the spear on him, but he went for the spear, and Ciampa did this insane like skin the cat on the ladder belt holding thing, and he held himself upside down for a good few minutes as Frazier crashed to the ground. Really impressive and cool and unique spot there. They went outside. They ended up having Candice climb the ladder. She got shoved off the ladder. Somebody like shoved Ciampa into Candice as she tried to grab the belts. She took a spill through a ladder set up. It looked brutal and devastating. B-Fab interfered for the Profits. The Wyatt Six all interfered. Whether it was Nikki, Eric Rowan, or Bo Dallas. And that helped them in the end score the win, where Joe Gacy, at one point they all did dives into, on the tables, too. They had like Rey Fenix hit a frog splash over the stairs of the table. Frazier did a dive on the table, and it ended up culminating with Axiom hitting a one-man Spanish fly onto the table and on Angelo Dawkins, and Ciampa like moved out of the way at the last second. It looked crazy. So it all came down to Joe Gacy getting the titles after everybody interfered for the Wyatts. What'd you think?
This was really fun, man. And I think had this been the only street fight style match on the show, it would have been better. But this kind of kicked off the unofficial SummerSlam Extreme Rules show. So, which I thought peaked here. Like, this is all you needed. This was awesome. I'm so happy for all these teams to get a prominent pay-per-view spot. They've been busting their asses since long before Mania. Like, you know, these 6 teams are basically your new SmackDown 6 in terms of tag. So they deserve this.
Yeah, I thought this was my favorite match on either show, personally. I love the creativity. A spot that I loved was Ray Phoenix jumping on Andrade's shoulders, and like he almost reached the belts that way. Like, I thought that was a great spot. The crowd loved it. Just a lot of creativity in this match. It wasn't like an all-time great match. There were some flubs. Like, there was that time the Street Profits tried to like backdrop Gacy into the setup ladder, but he missed, so they just brought him back into the ring and redid the spot to do it right. But I thought this was an insane match. The other stuff was all really tropey and very derivative of past street fight matches. But for an insane ladder match type, and anybody who knows me knows I'm not a big ladder match guy, but I think these guys brought enough to the table that it felt special. It felt like a big win. I would have liked a title change, personally. I would have liked to have seen a new team. Like, this should have been like a Fraxia moment to me. Like, solidify them as your top new team. But, I mean, the Wyatts are fine. Like, I don't really have a problem with Gacy or Loomis. And I think this is a good use of them. They have a very over gimmick. But, great match. I thought this was definitely the match of the weekend. I would give it an 8 out of 10, in my opinion.
Yeah,
four stars straight. Would be
my number 1, and the women's triple threat would be my number 2.
Yeah, I think so too. I think maybe the main event of the night one would be up there as well. We went through all that stuff. And then they show the Seth cash-in from night one in all these languages. Like Korean, Turkey, Hungarian, like everywhere. Pretty much. No Japanese, which is interesting. Shofunaki not getting love here. But then we go to a recap of Lyra versus Becky. Lyra comes out. This is a street fight. If Becky wins, Lyra cannot challenge again while Becky's the champion. And if Lyra wins, she gets the title. So Becky comes out with a whole new intro and new music. So this got a lot of discussion online. What did you think of this new? They've replaced Becky's iconic, headbanger theme. Like, whoa. They replaced all that with this new song. What did you think of it?
Damn, you know what's honestly like I didn't even notice, Dylan.
You didn't even notice at all?
I didn't even notice. Like, it just completely brushed past me. How was the new music?
So it starts off with her saying, "The man has come to town." Like in typical Def Rebel fashion. So I was thinking like, oh man, like what the hell's going on? And then they play the song, and this song, and I recognized it pretty quickly. At first I didn't, but then when she came down, I heard it. I was like, dude, this is the Wonder Years. And what happens when I see it online? The Wonder Years and Becky collaborated together. So if you don't know them, they were like
pop punk.
Yeah, like a leading indie pop punk band of like the 2000s, pretty much. Like they're one of the more noteworthy names of that emo pop punk type of era. So therefore, you know that I like them very much on there. And I know for a fact that Seth Rollins is a fan of theirs. Because I think he was on the lead singers, like they did some kind of interview together. The Wonder Years and Seth. Like when Seth first got to WWE, this is like 10 years ago. And I suppose Becky is a fan of theirs too. And that's what this song was. It honestly sounded like kind of a banger. I haven't heard it in full yet, and I want to, but it sounded pretty fucking great. I do have to say. But some people are not going to be happy just because her regular song is so iconic. But I love it. it works as a heel. They're not getting the fans chanting along with her anymore. I liked her Titantron that she had too, where
it's so funny to me that someone would pick the Wonder Years as their heel music,
which is amazing, right? Yeah, that is awesome, and it is amazing. But in this day and age, like a lot of times, not every great song will make a great wrestling theme song.
Yeah.
For example, more of Dylan's wrestling lore here. So, I've said this before. My theme song, early on, I went through a number of them, but my most noteworthy song was my heel song, which was a song called "The Leaving Song Part 2" by AFI.
Fuck yeah.
And it was a fucking amazing song, A, and B theme song with the intro. It really gave me added aura as an emo guy. But as a rib, somebody backstage changed it without my permission one show. And suddenly, like, they did the AFI intro, and basically, as the minute I walked out, the song cut and immediately switched to another song.
What was it?
Careless Whisper.
Oh, nice.
Which is an excellent song, but not a good wrestling theme song at any means. So you do have to wonder if the Wonder Years would be your go-to for this, especially as a heel. But I think there could be good to it. I want to hear the full song. But this was like the main talking point of this whole match. Because unfortunately, the match was going good. They had a spot where Lyra pulled out a crowbar at one point. And they had a spot where Becky zip-tied her hands. The problem with this spot was midway through whatever they were going for, Lyra's hands came free from it. The announcers called it. We all saw it. And Lyra, thinking on the fly, decided to like wrap her hands in the zip tie to try and make it look like she never escaped. And this whole probably 5 to 10 minutes later was her wrestling trying to pretend her hands are tied together, which made me laugh.
Say it again.
So much.
Say it again.
She wrestled this match having to pretend her hands are tied together.
Poor girl, dude.
Why?
They shouldn't have done another street fight, especially after the TLC match. They were in a terrible position. They should have opened the show, and the women's triple threat should have gone here. There's no reason why they needed to kick this one off. Like they should have shuffled it so that the plunder matches weren't bordering each other. You know what I'm saying? Because like totally you have them come in here, and she's hitting her with a toolbox, and I'm like, I just saw some guy get Spanish flied through a table. Like the fuck is a toolbox gonna do?
Yeah, I mean you're right. Like everything you said was right. She tried to wrestle like Orange Cassidy a little bit, which I thought was kind of funny. But it was just ridiculous. Like we saw it happen. Like they even called it. I think it would have been better if she had just dropped all that. Like she could have done every spot that she did just with her hands free. And they probably could have made a few like basic changes, but it wouldn't have done anything. It wouldn't have insulted my intelligence as a fan. And I feel bad because the way that it's explained is that everything's so over-agented and over-controlled that she probably was scared to improvise. And it led to this. So yeah, that was ridiculous. She finally gets free. And suddenly, Becky ties her up again, this time in a chair. So she comes in, and she's about to hit her with the crowbar, but Bayley shows up to stop it. They brawl. Becky tries to get Bayley to hit Lyra with the crowbar, and it's like, it's all her fault. And then Bayley throws the crowbar down and turns around, and then Becky wraps a chain around her fist, and she's about to deck Bayley. But Bayley sees it coming. They brawl. She throws Bayley into the crowd. Comes back in. Lyra's about to win. She throws Becky into the ropes, and Bayley's about to clock her with the chain-wrapped fist. But instead, Becky ducks. She nails Lyra. Becky hits the rock bottom through the setup chairs that they had, and that's the end of the match. I think the match was good, but invalidated by the zip tie spot. And I feel bad for Lyra. Like you said, poor her. That's basically how I felt at the end of this, more than anything triumphant. And on top of it, the finish was extremely cliche. I thought this was a really disappointing match compared to their first two, which I thought were both those were great matches. Like the Becky and Lyra match, they might not have been as good as the Triple Threat at WrestleMania, but they were great matches. And they deserve recognition, and they helped get Lyra way over from where she was. But this ending, I just hope that they do something to get Lyra's heat back, because this wasn't it, bro. Like, no. There was good in there, but it wasn't it. What'd you think?
Like I said, they were just not set up for success in terms of the match placement, the style, the unfortunate gimmick, just everything. I thought that this is probably the worst in their series so far.
Oh, it's like unquestionably the worst, in my opinion. It's got a 7.00 rating. What would you give it?
I'd go like 5.5, 6.
Yeah, 6 is about where I would lead it. Also, I did think this was a little long. 25 minutes? I mean, come on. Like, we didn't need that. So then we come out, and we see the cage, like, lower in. And this is all about Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. This has a lower rating than Sammy and Karrion Kross. What say you to that? Because you gave that a 3. Would you go lower?
Yeah, because this meant something.
Yeah.
Like, this was a title. This is Jacob Fatu. This is Timu Bloodline. Man. Just nonsense. This is like House of Torture.
This sucked. Yeah, that's exactly what this was like. You could see it executed the exact same way, too. And so this all builds to the Bloodline, or whatever, running out. This is the spot I texted you about. So they worked this boring-ass match centered around Solo trying to escape the door, but Jacob not letting him. And they get to the top of the cage. Jacob throws Solo. He doesn't throw him off the top, but he drags him down and throws him off the top rope. Tala Tonga handcuffs him to the cage. And we've got this camera angle where it's zoomed in on Solo. And Jacob just breaks 3 of the handcuffs, but like we didn't see it at all. He just runs up behind Solo and drags him in, and then he's about to drag him back in, but then Hikuleo kicks the door into Jacob. Solo just falls out. And then they're like, we have footage of what happened with him breaking the handcuffs here. And they show a replay of him. The key spot of the match you missed. And then Jimmy Uso runs out. He throws Tonga Loa and JC in. Tala Tonga's not getting in because they want to protect them. Jacob beats the fuck out of both of them. He climbs to the top of the cage, hits a moonsault on the both. He just totally destroys Tonga Loa. My goat here, catching him with his full body. You wasted this spot for after the match. You jobbed him out. You didn't even catch his big spot on camera. What? This sucked. Like, this sucked.
I know you hated it when you texted me about it.
Yeah, you know something grinds my gears if I'm calling you in the middle of the match. And I was justified, Nello. And so were the people. They gave this a 2.97 rating. I'll be generous and give it a 2. What say you?
I'll go 2 as well.
Well, you did give the other one a dud, to be fair. So, but I guess this was a better match, but it was worse because it had higher stakes. Is that what you're saying? And they both were ultimately awful.
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's all we need to know. They play a hype video. Dominic comes out with a mask on. He says he's the greatest luchador of all time. They show Mr. Iguana and Psycho Clown in the crowd. Mr. Iguana does his iguana stuff. And they're like, hey, Triple Mania is coming up in 2 weeks. These guys will be there. Should be a lot of fun. AJ comes out in a lowrider here. He has his son, and they both do the Eddie Guerrero Latino Heat jive. And then AJ reveals he has Eddie Guerrero tights. The same style as Eddie wore in his SummerSlam 05 match against Ray with Dominic on the line. And he has a shirt that says Styles Heat on it. What did you think of this?
I thought it was so sick. I love AJ Styles. Awesome. He is truly the phenomenal one.
His character is awesome. Currently,
this reminded me of when he would wear like John Cena's fucking sweatbands or whatever. Yeah. His like headband and wristband. Awesome stuff.
And his character's awesome.
It's funny because like this is what the heel would do.
I know, right? And about his own, like, Dominic has legitimate relations to Eddie. And AJ's just kind of mocking him for it. Here. A total heel spot. But they've done the storyline. Their story was Dominic has a doctor's note. And that prevented him from defending the title for the last month. And AJ was like, I want the title. And Dominic was like, hey, I got a doctor's note. And AJ's like, oh, let me see that. He puts on his reading glasses in this segment. And he says, oh, the doctor says you're a punk-ass bitch. Which was awesome. The fact AJ calling somebody that is wonderful. They had a spot where Pierce had been begged for Dominic to get checked so he could get cleared. And they had a spot where AJ was like following him everywhere. And they showed a spot where he walked behind a curtain and AJ was like praying. He was like, please God, let him get cleared. He was dressed up like a janitor or a doctor. It was very amusing. Uncle Alan rules. So they come in, they do some spots. I don't know if you noticed this, but the crowd suddenly had like all of their phones, like the Bray Wyatt Fireflies type of deal here. I don't know what that was all about or why they did it, but it happened in this match. Styles tries a frog splash, not his normal one. He used to do a frog splash like myself and D'Lo Brown used to do it, the split legs version. It always looked great. But here he tried Eddie's version, and it sucked. Like, it looked awful. Dominic got his knees up. They fought around. They did a spot where Dominic brought in the chair. He smashed it against the ground, tossed it to AJ, and went down. Then AJ put the chair around his own head and went down too. And it was a double Eddie spot. They were both arguing about it. They worked around the calf slicer. But in the end, in a repeat of Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, Kurt, he had the ankle lock, Eddie loosened his boot. AJ had the calf crusher on, pulled the boot off, Dominic countered, hit the frog splash and won. And they replayed it afterwards that he unzipped the boot. And I recognized this right away as a callback to that Eddie Kurt match, but they appeared surprised by it. What'd you think of the match? Do you give it a star for every Eddie Guerrero tribute? think you're on mute.
I am on mute. My apologies. Yeah, like I thought that this was better than what the inmates thought. I'd go like 6 on this. There was nothing that was like outwardly bad, and I loved all of the AJ Styles work in this match.
It was just entertaining. You know, it wasn't like an all-time classic. It was 6 out of 10, but I had a lot of fun with this match personally. It was nice that this match felt like it had a heart to it, rather than just being spot A, B to C. Like, you had tributes, you had thought put into stuff, and they worked the match really well. And I really think Dominic's really improved and done a great job in his character. So it all led to the main event. So first of all, before we talk about this match, what did you think of Cena cutting this promo on SmackDown where he denounced his heel character and said The Rock and Travis Scott and everyone else left me out to dry to portray someone I'm really not, and now the real Cena will come back at SummerSlam? And we saw an unceremonious end to Cena's heel turn, and he was back to normal for this match. What do you think of that?
Must be nice to be so big that you can just do that. Like if AEW did this or any other company, they would get crucified because it's so stupid. But also so was like the whole heel run. So why not just end it as unceremoniously as it pretty much was after the initial turn? Like, just weird. It felt like, hey, let's give Cena one babyface championship entrance. And man, I'll get into it more, but this whole John Cena run feels like it's been for nothing because I can't think of a single person he's put over as actually helped set up the future, which to me is what a final run is all about. Because Cody Rhodes is not the future. Cody Rhodes is your now. Right? He doesn't need any more accolades.
We talked about that the night he turned on our Elimination Chamber review. All the way in February, we talked about, hey, you have the chance to do something really special here. You could have great matches. You could put over new baby faces, and eventually this run should lead to the end of the year where whoever you choose as your next top babyface that will succeed Cody, or at least be alongside him as a 1A, that could be Cena's swan song. Now you've blown it because this heel run has been so ass, it's been universally rejected and hated. And from a storyline perspective, it's so inconsistent. I really think it's very comparable to the Death Riders angle in that the motivation has never been consistent.
But I'll say this, look at how the Death Riders ended.
Exactly. What if before the Hangman match, the go-home show of Dynamite, better yet, Collision, the go-home show of Collision,
Jon Moxley takes the fucking title out of the case.
Yes,
He's
exactly.
Like, you know what? You're right. I should be a champion. I've been an asshole this whole time. People deserve to see this belt. I'll take it out now. And then you get to see the belt. Then when Hangman gets it the next night, it means fucking nothing, dude. That would be great.
Yeah, better yet, he took the belt out of the briefcase and said, Tony Khan has promised me to be the champion as long as I portray this guy who I'm not really, that's not me. Tomorrow night, you're going to get the real Jon Moxley, and you're in for hell, and there will be no interferences. I am a complete babyface now. Just that easy. That would have sucked. And I didn't even love.
Imagine if they didn't do that angle, but they set up the possibility of Cena turning face, right? And then throughout the match, you have him realize that everything he said he can actually do in the match now and like show it through action and drama and whatever. But no, it's like we had to be spoon fed it in the most insulting way. I'm not a bad guy anymore.
And yeah, like The Rock and Triple H and all these guys put me up to it. But that wasn't the real me. The thing is, I partly get it. Because his run was just that bad as a heel. And there were times I felt like that with the Death Riders. I just thought, all right, look. I don't care what you have to do, just end this and make them go away for a while. And I think that could have worked. I wouldn't have dared done it like they did it with Cena. And Cena's probably not, well, he's 100% not going away. So it really has no logical basis. I totally understand why you would want to end this bullshit heel run that has not connected with anyone or made anyone look better. And just try and squeeze whatever juice is left for these last 3 months. You've probably only got 2 or 3 matches left with Cena. And one of them's going to be Brock. They have to try and get somebody young to be there for him. I don't know who that is. But they need to make somebody with this run. And they told us that is not their priority at all. So from a storytelling perspective, it sucked. From a logic perspective, it sucked. From a match perspective, this went on forever, I thought. The thing is, Cody came out with a special Dusty entrance where he was like, I thank God I have your son. Never give up. And, do what you got to do. And so he comes out. 8.56 rating. I really have to go against the Inmates. I thought this was a big step down, even from the Punk and Gunther match.
Really long. Like, here's the
so
thing.
Many finishers.
If you do a pile driver in a WWE match, you automatically get a 7 for some people. For whatever reason. And Michael Cole's even like, that's a bad move.
Yeah, that was so goofy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, I forget that WWE is Sesame Street Wrestling. Here I am watching Freedom's Tokyo Deathmatch Carnival. I actually just got that. I'm very excited to watch after this.
Okay.
Yeah, Sugiura versus Ito.
That sounds good.
Yeah, need some real violence in my life, not these fake bloody nose blade jobs.
And how much did that? Yeah, how much did that pile driver Punk did in their match on Raw mean? That was a huge moment in 2013.
And that's what it felt like it was calling back to, and it didn't have that.
It didn't work at all. It was nowhere
It
close.
just felt like a move in a match of moves.
And that's what this was. A match of moves. There was a million attitude adjustments.
Cody's gone into this super finisher thing. Like, I feel like it's like the WWE main event syndrome is like finisher spam, right? And Cody has like maximized it so much that like these matches are just AA, avalanche AA, kick out. And it's just like, fuck off, dude. This isn't Miyahara and Jake Lee in a 60-minute Broadway, baby. Get over yourselves.
And on top of it, it's like 3 straight crossroads, kick out. 3 straight attitudes adjustments, kick out.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to brawl through the arena. He's going to hit another attitude adjustment on the top of the ramp after using Cody's elevator, which that was another, like, clearly, I thought about that Drewski video with the way they shot it with him coming up, like from the elevator, like the Terminator with Cody on his shoulders, and he had that grin on his face. What was up with Cena smiling so much in this match? Like, he went so overboard in the other direction from his heel character. He was smiling about everything.
Dude.
Start of the match,
world.
Start of the match, they're smiling. He hugs, they're smiling. They fight, he's smiling. He hits a finisher, he's smiling. They go into the crowd, he's smiling. He comes from the elevator, he's smiling. It's like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, are you a human being? have you completely lost everything, Cena, that made everyone love you so much 20 years ago? But I just thought this match was like the spot where they start off where they hug and brawl. That would have been fun and cool if there was any logical build to it. And I thought the spot where they were brawling around the arena and the elevator, that was cool. Like, it wasn't bad. But just as a full match, a full 40-minute almost match, this did not work for me, brother. I have to stop it. They have to stop this match. Like you said, the main event syndrome, Cody syndrome, whatever. I just did not like this at all. And I will not say it was bad because I think it mostly worked for what they were going for. But I have to take points off because for this to work, you have to actively ignore like 6 months of storytelling. And I just can't do that, Nello. This match has an 8.56 rating, which is entirely too high, in my opinion. What would you give it?
I would go like a 4 or a 5.
And that's how I feel. Like 2.5 stars. 5 out of 10. That's not going to cut it for a 40-minute main event match on one of your biggest shows of the year. I'm honestly just glad that he won, so we don't have to do this. I actually thought, you know what I would have done? I know I'm about to contradict myself. I would have had Cena win the match by turning heel again. And like fuck over the fans even more to where it's like, no, we thought we were done with this horse shit. And Cena's like, nope. My run will never end, blah, blah, blah. And then you build to a top babyface. Like, I don't know who that would be. I said before it'd be Jacob. But the story they're telling with Sammy, that would be a good consolation prize for working this awful cross feud. But have him turn heel again during the match. Fuck Cody again. Maybe you could get real heat this time instead of the utter failure they had. Because the things were so clunky. At first it was, you fans, I'm in an abusive relationship. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody bought that shit. It sucked. The stuff about Cody being the corporate champion also didn't connect. And him trying to ruin wrestling and take the belt home, nobody gave a fuck. Give him some motivation for real that they never gave him. And that was another problem I had with the Death Riders. Their motivation changed like 4 or 5 times in the course of their run. And that's not good storytelling. And this was even worse. So when they had the hug at the end, and you gave Cena a standing ovation, that should have been a special moment. But instead, it felt so cheap to me, and I don't think anything was gained.
Because they did that like on SmackDown already.
Yeah, nothing was gained from this. What was gained from this entire heel run? I want to see how this lives up. I want to see how this is analyzed 10 years from now. I think people are going to call this one of the worst runs of all time on top. And this was your biggest angle ever, arguably. The John Cena heel turn we've wanted for 20 years almost. They finally pulled the trigger. And this is what it was? Dear God. So anyway, he's getting a standing ovation. And then suddenly, Brock Lesnar's music hits. You can hear a gasp and then a huge pop in the crowd for this. He comes out looking like Jelly Roll. Brock does. With a cowboy hat and some messy curly hair. And Cena's looking all afraid. Brock hits the F5. You know, we talked about it at the start. Clearly, bringing him back was like the reason why they cut off the press conferences afterwards, because they were going to get so many questions that Triple H was not going to answer. What was your immediate reaction when that music hit and he came walking out?
They don't care.
Yeah.
About
I
anything.
knew that. I knew that
everything
already.
that they talk about, they don't care.
I knew that already.
Just more affirmation.
Yeah. You knew that when Triple H himself, just this past week, again said would not condemn Vince McMahon.
Allegations are just allegations.
Yeah, that he told you. Well, he just told you himself. They told you when they played all of that Hulk Hogan crap without acknowledging all of the horrific stuff that he said. Never mind all of the actions he's taken in his wrestling career. Just this man who said himself he was a racist. Like, blatantly. That's not me saying it, that's him. They told you when they showed Triple H standing next to Donald Trump, and right after he was saying some transphobic bullshit. And that's something near and dear to my heart, people. I knew this all along, and I don't put my heart into any company, to kind of reiterate what I said at the start. I don't look to any company for my morals. And I feel bad for people that, that are maybe were fans of the company. Because this is something that, if you saw this and said, damn it, the fact that they're bringing him back, I cannot even watch this. I do not blame you for 1 second. I don't blame you if you do continue to watch it, because you're probably the same as me. Like, you already stopped believing all that crap a long time ago. But for them to do that, everything we had seen be reported before about this was that he was off the table in creative meetings. Do you think that the reason they brought him back was they rushed this Cena heel turn, or they rushed this Cena babyface turn, and they needed a top heel, and they said, "Fuck it, like we're hoping that the fans will accept this, and at least not riot against us, and we're gonna make that phone call to Brock." Do you think that they panicked because of the Cena turn, and that was what the domino that led to this? Because what you said was so accurate. They do not care about any of this. I am so confident that if they thought that the fans would accept it, they would bring Vince back in some role. But they know better. They know that is a line that is too far for more people than not. With this, the line isn't as strong as Vince. So do you think they can get away with this to their fans? And do you think that they just said, look, we're in a corner. The Cena shit's got to stop. We need a new top heel. Let's call Brock because we're lazy and we don't want to build anybody new.
That's what's so disheartening is like Cena's run so far has been what? R-Truth, CM Punk, Cody, Randy Orton. Anyone else?
R-Truth?
Yeah, R-Truth.
Yeah. If you want to call that putting anyone over.
And that's
yeah.
This final Cena run, I was hoping for it to be with Carmelo Hayes, Axiom, all of the young blood, and it's like you can't even get it like face to face with Cena unless you're a fucking legend. And it's like, what's the point of this? Like, truly, like, what is the point of this? Because you're doing nothing for the business with this. You're not giving back in any meaningful way with this, when this is such a wealth of shit that you can give back and pave for the future.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, take away any moral quandaries. We're just analyzing pro wrestling right now, me and you. Who wants to see this rematch again in 2025? And Cena fresh off of a horrific heel run. Who wants to see him suddenly and clunkily and terribly storytelling as a babyface now fight Brock Lesnar? Who wants that? And like I said, again, moral quandaries, let's set those aside for the purpose of this. I thought Brock was so overrated before. Like, he had his kind of match. And he did it at the top of the card once every few months for like 5 years straight. And it was the same style of match over and over. The only match, I would say the best one was the match he had at Survivor Series against AJ. They did a very similar, it was still good, but I don't think as good version of the same match with Bryan Danielson the next year. And I like the 5-minute Goldberg matches they had. But pretty much ever since those few matches, the only match I liked of his in like the last probably 5 years before his unceremonious exit was the match he had against Omos. Because it was something different, at least. He wasn't doing the same bullshit he always does. So now I get to watch him come back and do the same Suplex City crap with Cena that we saw 12 years ago. Who is this exciting to? Like, who is this for, ultimately? That's the thing. Even if you wanted to come out with a new heel or whatever, you didn't need Brock. Brock does not add anything to your company. You took the easy way out because you didn't care. Maybe some of those UFC connects and TKO might have tried to sway some people. I don't know. I don't know what the hell went into this decision. I disagree with it on every single level. I don't like it on a moral level, obviously, for him being a part of that lawsuit. Which, by the way, I know recently they got a big win, Grant's team, with that moving forward. I don't know if Brock's involved in any meaningful way in that, but, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of that. But I do know that they did get a win going forward, which is great news to take down these scumbags responsible and whatever somebody like Brock did. But even on a pure wrestling level, I don't know who this is for. I think it's a really bad move. It's going to do more than raise eyebrows. I'm seeing it on Twitter right now. You look up WWE and Brock Lesnar, there's not just one or two people. There's a lot of people saying, I'm done with this company. There's a lot of people that have said, I stopped watching every week. Now I'm just gone forever. Like, I'm gone for good.
Yeah, there's really nothing whatsoever keeping me watching this company other than this show.
Except for hanging out with me and putting out our show on Cage Match, which I do like doing. Even on bad shows like this, I do admit I had fun talking about it with you. But the wrestling product has a long way to go. And like I said, there's no company that's morally safe, in my opinion. But it's hard to ignore when they're kind of like blatantly throwing it in your face. They're not even trying to hide it. So I really don't blame anyone. If this is your final straw, we'll see what happens. I'm sure we will be back for Clash unless something like truly insane like happens in the next month. But I will tell you that I'm not excited about it at all. Again, and it's not just the moral stuff. If this show was amazing, I gave Benoit's fucking one night stand match a fair chance. It still wasn't that good, We were honest about that. If that had been an amazing match, I would have said, look, fucking A, that match was great. But it wasn't, thankfully. Because I would have felt bad about it, but I would have had to be honest as well. So if I could do that, and this show was great, I would tell you, like, I hate what happened at the end, but this was a great show. They hit on all cylinders. No, this was a boring 2 events. Like, okay, Nello, what number rating would you give nights 1 and 2 of SummerSlam?
I'd give night 1 like a 2, and I'd give night 2 like a 5.
Yeah, night 2 was definitely the better show, I think. Night 1 has a 6.23 rating, and night 2 has a 5.97, but a lot of people are giving it zeros because of Brock. So that really drags it down. I would give the first night was a bad show, in my opinion. I would give that a 3. And the second, I would agree with you. I'd give it about a 5. It wasn't terrible. The TLC match was dope, I admit. And the triple threat was good. And I had fun with Dominic and AJ. It was just a lighthearted, wholesome match. It's unfortunate. And the Brock stuff does, ultimately, like, that's a black cloud over all of this. And we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm not excited talking about this company at all or watching it. I do have to admit. And it's a shame because there are so many great wrestlers that they have that do not deserve blame in anything. But they're stuck under this company that seems determined to make themselves look as bad as possible. And it's a damn shame. And I think, honestly, I think it's an underrated talking point. A year ago, a year and a half ago, especially, heading into WrestleMania where Cody beat Roman, this company was hot. This company was getting talked about in the mainstream, and their fans were very happy, and it made a lot of new ones. I think them leaning so much, because we've seen them try numerous things. Remember that one? I think that might have been at WrestleMania. Now that I think about it, but that show where they had the racist comedian and Dana White and Colby Covington and all these right wing fucking guys. Every time they showed them, they got booed by the WWE fans. And I think them leaning into a certain ideology more and more, I think that's turning some people off. And this company does not feel anywhere near as hot as they did even at the start of the year. The Netflix numbers are not doing well. They're often regularly not even in the top 10 for the week. Raw. And they're letting people down that had high expectations. I think a lot of the fans, with moves like this Brock stuff, and a lot of the stuff they've done, I think they're hurting their fan base, and I think we're seeing consequences. And I think it's about to get a lot worse. So let me ask you one more question before we get out of here. What do you think it would take for them? How big of a negative reaction would it take for them to say, oh, okay, we didn't know that our fans would react like this. We have to pull this plug on Brock Lesnar. Do you think that's possible, or what would it take? Or are they just so far gone, like you said, they just don't give a fuck anymore?
They just don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I truly wouldn't be surprised if they brought back Vince. Like, he's one of Trump's best friends still.
They showed him in that Hogan video on Raw. It was only for a second, but they showed him raising Hogan's hand. And they had never shown him before up until that point. But one thing I will say, that there was enough problems with the Moolah Battle Royal that they changed it. Because the sponsors got a hold of that. And I think if there's a big enough wave that they go for the sponsors, and it's big enough that it catches their attention, they might rethink this move and try and squash this in short order. I don't know if that will happen, and I really believe, Nello, you honestly might be totally right. They might just not be so far gone, like you said, that they might just say, fuck it, we're bringing him back. Cena's praised him, Triple H has praised him, half of the old guard thinks of him like a father figure. Certain people have criticized him on the roster, I will admit that. Even Orton admitted that he did some fucked up stuff and he didn't like that at all. So, I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen. Because I really believe, even for me, like I'm kind of like an agnostic when it comes to this stuff. If Vince comes back, that's probably the end of the road for WWE on this show. Let me tell you. But for right now, as boring as I found these two shows, and as much of a dark cloud as Brock coming back was, we'll see what happens in Paris. I will say, like I said, I'm not looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to doing more shows with you in the future. I'm glad that we could talk it out. I feel like we got through a lot on this show. We talked about wrestling. We talked about our feelings about things. We talked about serious subjects. We did a little bit of everything. I nearly pooped myself in the middle of the show. I'll have to edit that parts out. So a lot happened. A lot happened on this show now, and I love that we did it together.
Hell yeah.
That's what I'm about. That's my dedication, people. I will hold this shit in as long as I need to. And thankfully, all is well in my pants right now. But that said, we will be back soon. I have a plan. Well, we will talk about that very quickly before both of us go to bed, probably. Because we are up very late right now. But I have a plan for this episode, and hopefully it will work out. But that said, Nello, as always, you have the floor. What do you want to say to our loyal and wonderful listeners?
Stop watching WWE so we can too.
Let's see what the WU crew thinks about that statement.
Woo crew?
Woo crew, heavily in attendance right now. Check us out on Twitter, BlueSky. We're there. Let us know what you thought. If you have any ideas, let us know. Always up for the fans. We're all about the people first and foremost. We will continue watching WWE as long as there is some audience for it. We'll see what the inmates think heading in. Again, it wasn't universally negative, but it was pretty negative. I will say the reaction so far. So we will see what happens. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching the show if you did. Thank you guys for checking us out, giving us a chance. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed my goofy tales about my wrestling career when I was, in my small indie, local indie. It really means a lot to me. I appreciate it. And as always, I love you. And until next time, this has been your Wrestle Update.